And the question is, what is the first and most fundamental step in ending internal pain through external parenthesis, positive behavior? I guess the question is asking if there is a way to ease the internal pain, and I'm assuming the questionnaire has psychological pain. How can we use outward solutions to solve an inward problem? Please use the mic. Thank you.
Well, I should differ with the question that whether there is an altered solution to the inner problem. Because the solution has to come from in. So that is the first thing that we need to pay attention, that outside may create context, but the solution comes from inside. This is why we, in fact, for my colleagues in the field of psychology, we now have something which is called narrative therapy, which we separate the problems from the person, and we do not define the person by his problems, and that means that the problems are solvable, because it is not defining you. So you say, for instance, my problem is that the abuses that I endured. Yes, the abuses are hurting you because that hurt comes from inner, although the abuse came from outside. So the solution comes from me to first understand the nature of my true self, which is an inner process, that I am bigger than what harm I have received, but I try through positive strength within me to create a safeguard that I would not get harmed by anybody else. So again, I do not go to the details, but the solution comes from within, through knowledge, through insight, through interpretation of the events, and through a holistic approach.
Thank you. Any of the panelists would like to add to that?
I think Dr. Riyazati has done an excellent job conveying this idea of us connecting to a power larger than ourselves. I just think there are, in my field, you can do small micro steps towards those kinds of personal change, and you're not going to expect dramatic change immediately, but rather than one step at a time. One of the recommendations that I'd like to share with you is that anywhere you go, anyone you meet, first 15 seconds, wish them some goodwill. Just in your heart, silently, just wish them goodwill. And that in itself, slowly, one drop at a time, heal you inside. As I mentioned, resentment is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. Not gonna happen. You're suffering, as he said, you'll be suffering. The sufferer, the torturer suffers as much as the victim. And that's the suffering is like a fluid, called it toxic fuel. It just carries with you to another place. Yes, and that's my perspective on it. So if you want to make changes, you gotta take small changes. And I say people want to make change their behavior or attitude, I say only do meditate 2 minutes a day. If you can do that, then do 3 minutes, then do 4 minutes. I never make a recommendation to make big major changes, because if you can't make that one step, you're not going to be able to make the mile. And that in itself is a self-change or transformation within.
True. I don't know that I can add much more to what my colleagues have said, but it really does help to believe that the change comes from within. You've heard the term, it's an inside job. Very true, very true. It's what I'm perceiving, how I'm reacting, even though the stuff's out here, it's in here. And the only person that gets hurt by my anger is me. The only person that gets hurt by my resentment is me. And I don't know about you, but I'm on this earth to feel good all the time. That's my goal. So I'm real careful of what I allow myself to interpret as attacks or as pain, or I'm very, very careful because I want to feel good all the time. Not possible, but I'm working on it. And if I ever perfect it, I will become a millionaire because it'll be real easy to sell.
Thank you. I think what I'm hearing here is that for an internal problem, it has to be an internal solution. So the solution cannot come from the outside. And also the fact that we have to take baby steps in resolving an issue. Now the next question, and I think I can combine the next two questions because you're both talking about breaking away from dependency and breaking away from being powerless and trying to move on from one's 35 years of abusive relationship. Now it's easy to say that it comes from within, and it's easy to say that it takes baby steps. How can one wake up? Because Dr. Salter, you mentioned in the morning when you wake up there is a committee going on in the head, right? So how can you make a conscious decision that one morning when you wake up that today is a day that I'm not only going to look inward for my solutions, but also I'm going to take baby steps? What would you do if you would give us a practical scenario?
Okay, I think first of all, you have to become aware. You have to have a self-awareness of what's the injury, what's the problem, how am I defining it, what is it, how is it affecting me in my life, and what power do I have? Can I change anything? You know, if you keep putting yourself in the same situation, I'll use an example. There was a meditation going on, and the people in the group, it was a group meditation, so it was going to be for an hour, and some of the people were brand new meditators, and so they were being walked through how do you start meditating. How do you calm the body? How do you get the mind calm? How do you go in and be quiet? And outside, there was a tick sound, a tick, 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 tick. And afterwards, they asked 3 different people in the group what the tick sound meant to them. The first person said they were so angry at the kids outside playing, throwing the ball against the wall, that was affecting their meditation, and why didn't somebody that was running the group go out there and tell them to stop? So they never meditated, they were angry the whole time, and they felt worse after the experiment than before. The second person said, I took it as a personal thing. I'm the only one in the room who heard the tick, and it was God talking to me because I've been such a bad person. So they took it as a personal affront, something's wrong with me, I'm the only one that hears it, because they would look around and nobody else would be bothered by it. The third person said, I figured something fell off the roof and it wasn't going to affect me, and I just did my meditation. So a lot of what happens, it really is about, how do I want to feel today? Who do I want to be today? What do I want to put out into the world today? Because whatever I put out into the world is coming back at me. And I don't know about you, but like I said, I like to feel good all the time. So I try real hard when I go to bed at night to ask myself, is the world a better place because I was in it today? Did I do something to actively make the world a better place? Did I give rather than just take?
Excellent. Thank you.
Can I make one
This is
comment?
sure.
I always say that the image you project creates the world around you. And that just means if it's anger, hostility, or smile. So I recommend to people, if you're upset, deliberately try to smile. Put a pen in your mouth. By changing your facial expression, talk about body language, you actually could change your mood. They've even thought recently, women who put Botox in their faces, they tend to change their emotion. And some doctors recommend that they actually can change your emotion and mood by putting Botox on your face. So if you're mad next time, put a pencil in your mouth and a smile. And remember today's session.
Good. Do you know Descartes? I believe it's René Descartes. It says, I think, therefore I am. For those of you who are in love and read Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare says, as the man thinketh, he shall be. So all of those, this is why we had cognitive behavioral therapy, that if you change the way you think about anything, then your action will not be a reaction, will be a response. So taking that formula and look at your life, say if I have been abused, well, I do not know of anybody who hasn't been some way abused. But the real challenge is how do I look at the abuse at this time, here and now. One of the items that helps is to remember we never can forget anything, unless you have a memory failure and so. But one thing that can help the healing process is forgiving. The power of forgiving. When you forget, you forgive, and also you look at yourself higher than what it has been treated for. You consider yourself like a mine full of gems that has not been tapped yet. Therefore you say, I make my future better than now. This hope therapy, this forgiveness strategy, this understanding the lesson, I believe what Kim says is a key issue. First, try to understand it, and then find the relevance to the feelings that you have now, and then I use dialectical therapy, try to regulate between thinking and emotion in order to react in a responsible way.
Dr. Martin?
Okay, I think one of the greatest powers that we all have is
Please
the
speak.
power to choose.
Thank you.
Our greatest power is the power to choose. And I remember when I had my first child and my niece came to live with us to help take care of her for the first 3 months. And she wasn't used to being directed the way I directed. So she decided that she would just be very angry with me. And she was very upset that I had made some demands on her that she wasn't going to do. And so she went into her room and she was so angry. And I had not dealt with anyone who had that kind of an emotion toward me. So I said, Veronica, what's the problem? She goes, you guys are just going on like nothing else has happened. And I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm mad. And you're just going on like life is the same. I said, well, you know what? Life is too short for us to be sad and upset because you're angry. We have to make a decision ourselves to decide how we are going to respond. So I just choose to be happy. And I told her, I said, you can spend the rest of your life letting circumstances dictate to you how you will live. Or you can make a decision how you're going to react.
Excellent.
Thank you. Dr. Mo, you would like to add to that, please?
Comment, I often ask people that how you feel inside right now, how you feeling, is not fact. It's only fact to you. So most people think, I'm crying, so it's a fact. So I'm upset, the whole world should be upset. But the question is, it's only your feeling, you own it. And as I said there, it's not fact. If you feel self-conscious, that's your ownership of it. And unfortunately, people project that to the outside world, and that's where I think the conflict comes about. So your feelings aren't fact.
Excellent. Dr. Mo, before we move on, I wanted to just clarify something you said a while ago. You talked about Botox. I just wanted to make sure, is it okay to get Botox or it's not okay to get Botox?
There's a lot of research done nowadays on as facial expressions and how your facial expression is one of the most complex expression that we can read. Ladies, women usually see your expression before they see your face. Men see your face before they see the expression. So these two are completely different how we see each other, because men are always trying to defend themselves. They're always, men always sit next to each other. They don't face each other, where women always face each other because they communicate. So these dynamic differences between us makes it very difficult to understand and have that kind of compassion feeling towards one another.
Are you trying not to answer me? Because I want to know.
The Botox Botox idea is very unique because they have found out that as you change your facial expression, the muscles in your face, they directly relate to emotions, your hormonal secretion. If you're angry, as certain different hormones are secreted in your body. Your body is a chemical laboratory. Your emotions are just produced in a laboratory and immediately circulate. Sometimes they're so fast you don't even know how it happened. You produce so much surgical adrenaline and cortisol in your body, you don't even know you're going. So that kind of thing. Botox is that they're finding that the women who do this tend to alter their mood. Sometimes to their favor, sometimes not to their favor. So it is possible to really carefully look at that. And doctors are using this as a marketing approach. That if you're depressed, come to me, I'll put Botox. Not only you look good, but you're also going to feel better. And I think this is something that are happening new in the science.
Excellent, thank you. Our panelists are good, aren't they? I really have to, confess that you're wonderful. Thank you. And one fact of their greatness is that they keep giving me segues to the next question. And Dr. Martin, you gave a great segue that it is your choice. It's the personal choice we make about our mood and attitudes and our responses, right? So this question from one of our friends here says, and of course this was for Mr. Riazati, but you don't mind if we start with Dr. Martin, I'm sure, and then we'll work our way around our panelists. And the question was, are we truly responsible for our choices? Because there are genetic makeup, environmental influences, and hormones in our body that affect our brain. So if we are the only truly responsible for our actions, it says, how are our choices then entirely genuine? I asked you that question, I wanted you to start the discussion because you made a conscious choice to deal with the micro inequities the way you did, and you made your way out of it instead of wallowing and being sorrowful in it. So please share that experience with us. Is it our choice or not?
It is our choice. I think that I grew up in an era where, unfortunately, we were taught two languages. I grew up in the South in the 60s, 50s, and there were certain things that we could and couldn't say in public. And at home, we could pretty much say whatever we wanted to. And it was a matter of living or not living in some instances. So preservation of our lives or of the lives of our family. So one of the things that my mom would tell us is that, first of all, if someone hits you once, don't stick around for them to hit you again. If you ever got a chance to hit them back, make sure they won't be able to hit you again. So I grew up where we were taught survival techniques at an early age throughout our lives. So as I became into the field of engineering, I took those techniques and hints and choices into that career with me. I knew where I wanted to be. And there are going to be opportunities in every area that you find not to proceed on the choice that you want. So you can either live with the choices you make for yourself or choices other people make for you. So I decided that I would live with choices that I make for myself because they're easier. You won't have as much regret because you are living with the decision you made for yourself. So that was one of the things that I decided really, really early, is that I would choose where I want to go. And if I'm not getting there, then I'll just find another way. If I'm not getting there on the path I'm on, I'll find another way. And I'm just amazed at how much support I get when I make a decision to go in a way that is positive rather than one that's negative.
Perfect. Thank you.
Do you know the Schopenhauer? Do you know him? Mm-hmm. Schopenhauer. I am free to do what I want, but I am not free to want what I want. Very powerful statement, by the way. Schopenhauer meant, and that whatever you choose, of course, has different contributory factors, like you mentioned, Dr. Jafari. It has maybe a transgenerational impact, which is a universal impact. It can be inheritance factor, it can be environmental factor, it can be educational factor, but again, like Glasser said, choice factor. Now, so choice that you make has to, how do we know? I think the questioner says with all of those factors, and you're free to choose what you want, but you are not free to want what you want. Actually, we have to answer not Schopenhauer. And the way that we answer it is never think your choices necessarily, as I think Dolores says, are the right choices. But they are choices, which is based on the evidences. I now use the terminology of Immanuel Kant. Knowledge, insight, skills contribute to choice. And then Jung, your friend, he said, but when you choose, do not only choose for whatever is good for you, consider the benefit of the whole. And then, if within this parameter you make a choice, your choices are healthier. Not that they are complete. Another addition to this, and the last addition, always be content with your choices. Do your homework, be content, pray, meditate, leave it in the hand of that high power, synchronicity, God, Jesus, higher will, inner strength.
Excellent, thank you. With that, let's go into victim mentality, Dr. Mo, because what you all just described is a lot of work, I'm telling you. It's much better to just wallow in your pain and sorrow and try to do all that work to get out of it, isn't it? Wouldn't we call that a victim mentality? And by that I mean being used to a certain way of life and getting out of it is uncomfortable. So how do you get out of the victim mentality first before you start to do any of the work that we just talked about?
I just make a
Dr.
comment.
Mo, yes,
Make
please,
a
you can start.
comment is that I'm not a therapist, so I would like to apologize for my opinion in this case. But I think that individuals like Dr. Dolores or people who work in life, they're very intelligent people. We call it emotional intelligent. These people are able to recognize situations or circumstances that I'm going to turn it around to my benefit, or I'm going to say something stupid that is going to backfire, and I'm going to have to spend a lot of time cleaning it up. So it takes that kind of emotional intelligence. Sometimes you can actually educate yourself. You talk about knowledge. He just goes through it fast. But knowledge is important. You can learn specific skills that you teach them in your life that you could use every day to be able to minimize these micro conflicts and issues that completely consumes you during the day. And there are specific skills. That's not a time to talk about it, but it is important to know. You have solutions. There are many, many ways available to you. You just need to go seek it out. As you said, seek the knowledge out. And you be there. And there are very practical stuff that they can teach you about how you can be more intelligent in the choices you make to make sure you can't afford to make too many wrong choices in life, unfortunately, because some of them could take you down so far that it would take you 20, 30 years to recover. So taking deliberate and calculated approach to making decisions is one of the best investments you can make in your life. And that's what. And I want to say one more thing. What definition of happiness about what you talk about, Carl, is that definition of happiness is when you are, happiness is wanting what you have, not having what you want. And turning that statement around.
Excellent. Dr. Sultan,
Well, first of all, we have to define victim.
please.
And I think the thing to understand is victim is a very individual term. And if a person believes they are being victimized, you're not going to argue them out of that. You're not going to cognitively convince them they're not. So you have to start with where the individual believes they are. And if a person believes they're a victim, then you start there. Then you do go to choice, because it's, do you choose to stay a victim? And our history shows us, all the studies they've done show us that victims victimize. So if you can't get someone to look at their own behavior or their own stuff, if you will, a shortcut for me in my therapy is if they have kids, because nobody wants to hurt their kids. So if I can get them to see that they're doing to their children the exact same thing that was done to them, and that's victimization, then I get their attention. And I get their willingness to change because they're not going to hurt their kids. So sometimes that's the starting point. If it's just an individual, a lot of times it is, they have to come to the realization that they are choosing to be a victim, no matter what's been done to them before in their life, no matter the whole list of causes they have for why it's been done to them and someone made them this. They have to get to a realization where they can accept and own, I'm a victim. It's the role I play. I've played it well for whether it's 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, however. I had an 85-year-old in my office once who was a victim. And I'm here to tell you she changed. She made a conscious choice to change, and she lived out the other 15 years of her life not being a victim.
Wow.
So it's possible, no matter what the age. But first of all, it's about who's defining who's a victim, and then coming from, do they want to get out of it? Because it's a choice. Again, some people want to stay a victim. It works for them. It works in the life they've set up. It works with their relationships. They own it. That's what they do.
Excellent. Well, before we go anywhere, I'd like to also piggyback on that to something we didn't get a chance to spend a whole lot of time on, and that was premarital counseling, so that we have less victims in the relationship. So my question to you is this. How far into the relationship would you recommend that such therapy or counseling take place? And then the second part of this question is, what if through therapy and counseling, it turns out that the couple really aren't a good match for each other? When do you call it quits? Thank you.
Okay, number of questions. First one, when do you go to premarital counseling? For everybody, it's different. I actually had a client once that had so many bad boyfriends that when she was coming to see me on her own without a boyfriend, she said, I have this list of 20 questions, Dr. Salter, and I give it to them now on the first date. I go, how many second dates do you have? You know, I mean, come on, there's got to be some limit of let's get to know each other first. But she was so frustrated because she had what we call a broken picker. And so she just kept picking the wrong people. But I think I'll get calls sometimes and somebody will say, but, I'm having trouble with my boyfriend, he won't do this, he won't do that, and now he's hitting me. And so I say, how many times has he hit you? Well, it's been 3 now, and you're still with him?
Okay.
I don't know if I can help you. And they, it's like they have to realize, wait a minute, again, choice. I'm choosing to put up with this behavior. And if I put up with it, then I become part of the problem. So I don't get to say, it's okay to disrespect me, it's okay to talk badly to me, it's okay to boss me around, it's okay to hit me, while we're courting, because I don't want to lose you, you're a good catch. And then we get married, and then I change the rules. Okay, can't hit me anymore. New rule. And a lot of times that's what happens, which is why I'm a real advocate for premarital counseling. Because I think you have to take ownership for what you're accepting and what you're creating from the beginning. I can't tell you how many times people will come in and they'll complain about something, and invariably it's like, oh yeah, the second date that happened. And how long now? 10 years you're doing this? Now again, always hope we can always grow, always change, always continue to educate, to empower ourselves. All that's possible. We evolve till the day we no longer take breath, I believe. So age is not a factor here. But in my opinion, if you're dating someone, you've been dating them for a long enough period of time that you're thinking marriage, then I think before you do the marriage question, you do the let's go to counseling question.
Excellent. And Dr. Martin, I know we're running short on time, so I'd like you to also, we didn't get a chance to talk about this, a little bit discuss the fact that how can we, parents, future parents of, let's say, girls, could raise such strong females, such as yourself? Because I look at you and I'm thinking the epitome of patience and seriously calmness, and I don't know what your niece was talking about. You know, I cannot see that in you. But let's say that you do have the other side that's very directive and all that. So what advice would you give to parents that would want to raise such strong female characters like yourself?
Okay, I grew up in a family of a large family. There were 9 of us, 4 girls, 4 boys, and 1 boy who passed on. But one of the things that my mom, I had a very strong mother figure. She didn't allow certain things in her home. In other words, she didn't allow the use of nicknames or slang. She always would say, if someone would say, oh, the alcohol made me do it, and like Dr. Mo said, no, the alcohol didn't make you do it, you wanted to do it anyways. So she just really taught us to accept responsibility. And it's okay to make mistakes because they're not the end all. And you can learn from those mistakes and move on. I have a daughter. I like to think she's a strong figure, but one of the ladies at my church, she said, well, did you ever tell her the rules that your mom told you? And I started thinking, no, I don't think I ever told her those rules. But somehow she got them. So I think, and I have a son who's also a strong figure, and I cannot imagine him abusing anyone, even though he did have an anger problem when he was young. And my husband said he took that after me because I did get the police call on me a couple times because of not relenting when I thought I was right.
Right.
And so sometimes we have to just decide what we think are reasons of entitlement and just things that are just right.
Excellent. And of course, we can't minimize the role of Mr. Martin, so yes, thank you. We have only 4 minutes, and there are 4 panelists. I'd like each to take 1 minute to give us a final thought. Dr. Mo, why don't you start? Final thought.
Final thought.
1 minute. Thank you.
If you know someone who's experiencing violence in their life, or a family member, this is not normal. It's not normal to feel that way. No human being deserves to suffer like that on a daily basis. And I really encourage you to get involved, attend these workshops. I really worked hard to offer this to different communities, Vietnamese, Hispanic, and the Korean as well as Iranian. And please attend this, I'll be there as well. It's extremely helpful to know your brain can heal. Your brain can heal. That's a new scientific findings. You can recover, not just emotionally, physically that we talk about, but your brain can reformulate yourself and to heal thyself. Your brain continuously grows and trim itself. And that workshop talks about that how you're evolving and you're continuously growing. And I just want to let you know that please reach out to these individuals. Oftentimes they're lonely. They're the loneliest people. Please reach out to them and become those one best friend you can be. Just one best friend.
Thank you. Mr. Riazzetti, would you give us your final thought?
Ladies,
Or Dr. Martin?
Yes, I'm
sorry, I went
Go
first.
ahead. Oh,
All right, now we're down to 1 minute.
okay. I guess the thing that I wanted to say is that a lot of my friends call me lucky, in that things that just happen for me. And I always define lucky as when preparedness and opportunity meet. So first of all, consider your kids lucky. Help them get prepared so when the opportunity come up, they will be very lucky.
I want to leave you with 2 thoughts. One is the golden rule, of course. Do unto others as you want done to yourself. I'm a strong believer in karma. And the other is, as I said before, every single morning when you wake up, 2 thoughts. 1, thank goodness I've got another day to do whatever, save the world, whatever. And can I make the world a better place today because I'm in it? Let me be a giver, not just a taker.
So what should I say now?
Goodbye.
2 things I can offer. 1, never is too late. You feel stuck, you feel victim, you feel sinful when you think it is the end of the world. But tomorrow, today, is a new chance, new opportunity. And second, your reality is not physical. Your reality is spiritual, and the manifestation of your spirituality is through your thinking process. So monitor your thinking. And if any type of abusive feature do you see towards yourself or debasing others, get away from it. Hell is to stay in a thought which is abusive, and heaven is to create a space for a positive energy to flow to